Hey, one and all. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. Thank you so much for joining me for this Wednesday edition of the Feedback Loop. Um, it's a great day here. It's a great day here. We had a number of things come through the Hopper yesterday. The Hopper, the Discord community channel where people drop in their work for review, and wanted to talk about a couple of things before we get to some of the more visual aspects. Um, First of all, this week we've been trying something new where we're basically kind of mapping out what we're mapping out a plan for the week ahead. Um, what I what I find is that unless you self-declare ahead of time what it is you're going to try to do, you have no idea whether the week was a success or a failure. And frankly, there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to make that declaration, because if you don't upfront declare what you're going to try to get done that week, you could always just claim, oh, it was just a slow week, I just didn't get a lot done. But that's not risking failure. And I think one of the most important things you can do when you're attempting to really elevate yourself is to, in fact, risk failure. So the the thing that I always want to focus on is not overstepping that. One of the students, Jeremy, she had stated, "I'm going to rethink like everything." And while that's a good goal, that is almost a sure setup for feeling like at the end of the week you failed, because it's not specific enough. There's always a way that you can. There's always a way that you can stretch out beyond um, a small task. But when you set the task up to be everything, there's no way you're getting to that. So what I would encourage you to do, if you're setting up goals for yourself, is to chop that down. Okay, chop that down into something that you could actually measure. Like, I'm going to write a new bio this week, or I'm going to finish my user interviews this week. Whatever it is that you do, and maybe that's one thing of it. Maybe you have several items, but you want it to be in granular enough detail to where you can actually like say, yes, I definitively did that. I actually got that done, rather than the gigantic, I'm going to do all the things, because that can be overwhelming. As somebody who is running their own operation for the first time in over 20 years, I had a business in college that I ran for several years, but since then I've always worked for other people, and now working for myself, it can be overwhelming if you allow it to be all the things that need to be done. So, for my own mental stability, I need to chop that down into something that can be measurable, so that I can, at the end of the day, I can look at the day, or I can look at the week and go, but was it a good week? Regardless of all the other things going on, did I make significant forward progress, or did I just kind of spin my wheels? And I can say definitively yesterday, I kind of spun my wheels. And you need to be able to hold yourself accountable. It's not good to always hit the mark. I mean, you should set the mark high enough to where you're at risk of missing it. And yesterday, totally missed it. Didn't get one of the big things that I wanted to get done. Actually, I got a big thing done, and that's the flip side. I got a big thing done, but I didn't get all the big things done. So today, for me personally, it's going to be a day of catching up on the couple of things that I didn't get knocked out. And I hope that you're setting goals for yourself that are measurable. So with that, that's just a short bit on the goal setting initiatives that we've been discussing in the Discord channel. I appreciate everybody who's submitted theirs. If you haven't already, it's Wednesday, but maybe you're working Wednesday to Wednesday, or maybe you're working maybe you're not quite in sync. A lot of people, actually, what was odd was quite a few people coming out of this past weekend. It was a long weekend for people traveling and whatnot. Normally, you don't see that kind of thing on Labor Day, but I did notice quite a few people were like, you know what, one last summer thing before the leaves start falling. Second thing, Matal had turned in her, she's working through the Intro to Product Design course, and she's working through the design ethics portion of the course. And there's something that I've said a couple of times over, and I try not to put this directly in the curriculum, because I don't want to lead too much. But when you are in a brainstorming session and you're hearing something potentially unethical being bantered about, you've got a couple of choices. One, you could raise the issue. I don't think that's legally a good idea, or I don't think that's ethically a good idea. Remembering that legal and ethics are two separate concepts. There's lots of unethical things that are completely legal, so we can't always just hide behind the shield of law to manage the things that our coworkers come up with. But on the flip side of that, that's not offering a solution. I would far, I think that this is part of the issue. There's a lot of people that we do not want to speak up unless we have a solution to offer. It's always a bad idea just to shoot down everybody else's ideas. However, I would say that if you feel like it's an unethical idea, that's not just shooting it down. That's trying to protect the organization or protect your client. You're wanting to always operate with the protection of the org or the client first, and then, like, the stretch goal in these situations should always be to offer up a solution in exchange. And I really think that is, when you focus on always trying to offer a solution rather than just shooting people's ideas down, when you try to offer up a solution, you're opening yourself up to criticism, just as the person that you're criticizing had opened themselves up to criticism. It's a two-way street, and I do feel that is a far better thing to do in terms of maintaining the camaraderie within your team. Always offering up something else that can be shot at. And you know what? We blow holes in each other in these meetings anyway. That's the big reason why you should never wince at taking aim at an idea that you feel like could do damage to your organization or your clients. If you hear something if something feels unethical, it probably is, and you should speak up. But there's a couple of surefire ways to address the issues in the room, and I'm saying this because I'm going to adjust the assignment a bit. So, I think everybody that's in the program is already finishing up with this. I'm going to rewrite this one a bit because I think we've reached the end of that particular assignment. But there's two things that you can do. One, look at what the client's already doing. If the client is got a scholarship program, or if the client has a relief fund, whatever the client is doing, if there are initiatives that client has, that's a way that can you piggyback on a direction that the client's already going, um, and find a new way to promote that rather than taking it into a an area that is significantly grayer. And we were specifically talking about the Wikipedia defacement by Leo Burnett and North Face in that exercise. For those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with that exercise, the second way that you can always press forward is when you look at new tech. New tech is always an area for exploration. It's an area. It's like a land grab. Anytime that new tech comes along, be it when I got in the mobile design, the App Store didn't exist. Okay, so when the App Store opened up, it was a land grab. It was like the settlers were lining up at the line of at the state line of Oklahoma and rushing in to stake their claim on land. The App Store was the same thing. People were lining up at the line, and we're just going to throw whatever we can throw into the App Store because we know nothing's there yet, and it'll gain a lot of attention. Same thing when tablet magazines came out. VR, there's always a land grab when the next thing happens. I remember it was, build your in 2015. It was build your Alexa skills. Well, nobody even there weren't even a lot of Alexas at that point in time, but people were trying to stake their claim. When you have new technology come out, and there's always something new right around the corner, Internet of Things. That's when you throw something out there for a new client who is trying to break in and do something and draw attention. Look at that technological space. The Wikipedia thing. One of the great ideas that came over was, instead of going in and crowding the space and instead of defacing Wikipedia, why don't we create a stock photography site of all these amazing places, and we do product placements within the stock photography? And that was like, holy crap, that's genius, because rather than you defacing Wikipedia, you create stock photography for these iconic places that people want photos of, and then they begin sprinkling all throughout the internet because you've professionally shot and now made available these beautiful pictures that people are going to use over and over and over again because they're royalty-free stock photos. That's so genius, and such a better way to do the same thing that the Wikipedia thing. And it's frankly a little more subliminal. It's placement in the image rather than placement on Wikipedia, but it's completely fair game. You're saying that, hey, North Face has shot all this magnificent stock photography of these great places. Another angle that you could take on that is, here's drone photography from presented by the North Face that you can use, provided that you add a North Face caption on the video. Like there's so many good ideas that came out of that. I hate to sunset that assignment, but I think that new assignments are always helpful. So a couple things to keep in mind there. But we've bantered on a while now. I want to swing this over. Rebecca has submitted yet another amazing update. Well, I shouldn't say amazing. I haven't looked at it in depth yet, but she submitted another update, and we're gonna see what she's got here. I do know that she said that she had worked quite a bit on, and here we are. I'm just going to hide that away. I just want to zoom in here. Rebecca's been hard at work on her her Okta, or actually not. It's not Okta. It's her portfolio, and I'm wanting to take a look. Yeah, that's Graphique. So I can't necessarily go in. I need to load that. I need to load Manrope and Graphique to work with this, but that's okay. I'm not going to replace them for now. In looking at this, though, I definitely feel like the top here is coming together. Um, I like the logo. I like the adjustment that you made to the logo. That's nice. I would look for it to be consistent across though. Like when I draw in the guide here, I really want the top of your bio to begin at the same spot. And I say that because as you go through and create this, I'm just imagining you're working on your HTML and CSS and you're getting these things all lined up. It's much easier to basically use the same header rather than having to come through and sort out all the different ways that you can customize this. And I'm just going to grab these items. And I'm going to group that so we can just quickly move it down. All right, so there's that. So I want that alignment across to work for you. And here, this is a little different because you've got this armada of iPhones kind of coming in here from the corner, which is very similar to what you have here. Which is, this is kind of nice. I do think that this purple box here is not great. Particularly the way that it kind of cancel. Oh, that's man rope. Particularly the way that it like ends if you've got a quote, like use the quote and put the name at the bottom. I'll show you just an option, an example. So these are some testimonials that I've put together. Quote, name of the person and where they're at. Okay, or if you want to go back to my homepage. And look down here, quote, name of the person, where they're at. There's a couple of different ways. These are the really short, truncated versions. I think, you're in the same spot. I wouldn't go full width, though. I might stack these, 1, 2, 3, and then responsively when it comes down, just to kind of show you what happens here. Inspect element. You can see that these go down to a single column, but as they come up, like here, it's like that. And you can kind of see how this shape kind of reforms, because at one point my head is off to the left and nothing's below it. But as you get into tablet, it does that. When you get into mobile, it reforms again to it's a single column. And then when you get all the way up, you can see the I do a little work with the button as well. And you get all the way up, it's like that. So this sort of stacking, I think, would work better than having it go all the way across. Also, I would really encourage you to look at that purple tends to work better with the white typography. And I just want to make sure that I just had that. Yeah, okay, so we're fine. The purple tends to work better with white typography. So this dark purple, I'm not entirely sure that I like it nearly enough to keep it, especially down here. I think I would go with what, just go with white type here. Yeah, that's a lot easier to read. So I would go with white type. I would stack it in 3, and I would also, you've got this, you've got the blue button and then the kind of maroon button. I would get one consistent color on the buttons. I think it's connected to the branding. Also, this down here is getting super busy. I think you've really, if nothing else, that area has taken a step back from where we've seen it in recent days. And featured's a word that you should. It's kind of like IDs and CSS. You should only use it once. Okay, if something's featured, it's like the main thing, and then everything else is secondary. So either Okta is featured or the Silly Candy is featured, but not both. And because Okta, if I remember correctly, Silly Candy was not a fully baked out case study, but Okta was. Okta's your featured work. So I would go with Okta over Silly Candy. Keep Silly Candy out there, that's fine, but lose the featured work. Other work is fine. And if you have a second one, you could do that. If you don't have a second one, it makes it hard because you're trying to expand it and show more, but you don't really have the goods here compared to Okta. So if nothing else, I think that Silly Candy right now is weighing this down, and I would either adjust it to where it's less prominent or remove it so that it doesn't get in the way of Okta. And that brings us down to this footer. And I like the idea here that you've got pretty good alignment going on. Like you've got the alignment here and the alignment here. I typically like my footers to have a little, you've got that grouped, which is fine. But I tend to, let's see here. Vector. Where is, so those are grouped, that's fine. Okay, so that's there. Sorry, just trying to group those together. Yeah, that's weird. Come on. Just trying to, there's that. Group it. Now, now I can drag. I tend to prefer my footer to have a little space to the bottom. And there's a reason for that. Typically speaking, so actually let's practice this. If I had a footer that was all the way at the bottom, it would, you see how my bottom nav keeps coming up? Think about scrolling to the bottom and trying to click on one of these links. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's put this in prototype mode. Because I think we can show the issue with this while it's in prototype mode. All right, so we're just going to stay here with this. I know it's not, I know it's, if we put it in full screen, all right, well, let's just scroll down. Okay, so there's the footer, right? And I go to click the thing, and if I have to go all the way to the bottom to get to the thing, because I may just automatically, typically when I go down, it's like, oh, I'm going to hit medium, and I'll go all the way to the bottom. I'll overshoot. My cursor will hit the bottom, and when it does, it drags up that system operating, and it drags up that system dock, and that's a real pain in the butt because it's like, oh crap, how do I? And now I've got to start targeting, and yes, I can target, and that's fine, but I don't have to target if I have a little space to the bottom. If I have this space to the bottom and I go all the way to the bottom, let's actually, let's just adjust this really fast. So let's grab the home page. I'm just going to, of course, it's sticking to the bottom. Figma, I love you. That's a good design choice. It's just that it doesn't work for me at this very moment. Okay. So I've got a little space here at the bottom, right? If I save that, we go back over to our presentation. Now when I go down, I'm not going to just go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to stop somewhere near it, and I never trigger that system dock to pop up. So giving yourself a little bit of space at the bottom, and I'll point to myself. You know, this little bit right here is never at completely at the bottom. There's no way that I'm going to go all the way down there. Also, I just decided not to go with the icons because everybody uses icons. That's no indication of whether you should or shouldn't. If you want the icons, by all means, use them. But for me, this was fine. Anyway, but for you, I would encourage you to give some space at the bottom, not just from it looks aesthetically pleasing, but it keeps you from triggering the system dock, which is a huge pain in the butt. Let's move on. We've talked about this and the alignment. I really do like having that line up properly. This could be similar, but I'm not as rah-rah about it. I mean, the fact that you've got this purple and it's the same throughout is fine. Doesn't work so great with the blue, but I mean, that's a color associated with that design. So, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people do like, I'm just going to make it black, so that the nav and the overarching design of the portfolio never clashes. It never clashes with the items that are in the portfolio. So something to think about. I think it's fine though. I want consistency even if the color clashes a little bit with the case study. I still want consistency over those items. And we've talked about all of this to date. And it was, we've tweaked the hell out of it. Again, adding some space to the bottom. It looks like you've got your hi-fi design label in there, but again, you're taking this into code. So I'm far less worried. I'm far less worried about giving you pointers on, here's how to do the labeling, or here's, I definitely want this to fit within the grid, because I don't want you to have to draw. In CSS, I don't want you to have to break the container and move it out. I want you to be able to have one container that works. If you're ever going to break out, I want like full screen, full width images. Okay, that's when you break the container. Not for a slightly different variant of your typography. But really, this is, again, Rebecca, I think your top priority for tomorrow is to get this. I want all this content for your case study inside of that feather frame project that I shared yesterday, and then we can come back and we can create an about page, we can create an index page. Yes, there are tweaks here. I would tweak this. I would align these elements. I would give more space to the bottom. But otherwise, I mean, I can't stress it enough. You look at where you were a week ago and you look at where you are now, and it's a dramatic move forward. There are other things that we can do, but the biggest thing that you can do for yourself right now is get this into GitHub so we can start working on the code. One of the things that I was saying to Rebecca, and this applies to anybody that's on the call, it applies to anybody who's looking for a job, is that we are now in fall. It's officially fall, and I bang the table on this every year. And I've been working with designers for 2 decades. Every fall, we run hot and heavy right up until Thanksgiving time, and then after that, things shift. People check out for the final 6 weeks of the year. And that's probably more of a North American thing and Europe thing. North America and Europe, maybe even South America. But in areas that celebrate, Christmas, people start taking holidays. All right. It's the flip side of summer vacation. A lot of people take their vacations in the summer, or they take their vacations in around the holiday period. So New Year's, Christmas, maybe a week prior, maybe the month prior. Depends on how people save up their time. Also, playing in a key role here is a lot of hiring freezes because they don't want to spend the money. They don't want that money. They don't want that salary going on the ledger for the current calendar year. They want to tidy up the books to make things look a little better than they actually are. So if that means we can do without placing somebody in that job for the final 6 weeks, they'll do it. This is the mental thinking behind why hiring slows in the late fall, early winter. It's holidays, it's fourth quarter accounting, it's consistent. It happens every year. Yes, I do know of designers that I've worked with in the past that have gotten jobs in the month of December. It has happened. I guarantee it. It's happened, and somebody on this call will get a job in December. Might not be this year, but it will happen. So that does not mean it can't happen. That means that I would not bet on it happening. I would not say, hey, you know what? It's totally fine to start your job search in late November. Yeah, it's cool. No, you want that to start now. Like before the end of September. Last I checked, it is September 25th. Yeah, it's September 25th. So you've got a few days left to really get that jump. And then October, it's hot and heavy. You've got 1 month plus a couple of weeks to try to land that cool gig before things start ratcheting down. So for you, Rebecca, as we circle this back around to this portfolio that I'm looking at, for you, this really comes back to, hey, I need to start applying for jobs. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to also look at when we're talking about applying for jobs. One, whatever you're doing in your portfolio, your resume should reflect it. It should look like these two things should look like they belong to each other. A lot of times that's just picking up some spacing. It's picking up a logo that you've created along the way, maybe the typography. But by and large, these two things should feel similar. We're not sending out any Microsoft Word document resumes. That's a thing of the past. Don't do that. Second thing, we need to clean up your LinkedIn. A lot of people go to LinkedIn and mosey about. If your LinkedIn isn't updated, people aren't going to know really what to make of you. And then the next thing is we need to start looking at meetups in your area that you can be going to begin networking. Now, hopefully networking's been going on, but if you've not started, now is the time. On the upside of this, while hiring slows down, holiday parties go up, okay? So that means if you're looking for a January job, the thing that you want to do is you want to have everything buttoned up and you want to be on the search through the industry holiday party season. That will set you up for next year, but it's not going to land you a job this year. So by and large, if you're going to start your job search, it needs to start like within the next week, okay? Otherwise, you're looking at January. It's either starting in the next week or, now through the very earliest of October, or you're waiting into January. So for you, if you're on this call, I'm here every day. Rapid feedback. That's what we do. Feedback loop. Monday through Friday. And if you've got questions, you're always welcome to drop them into Discord. I'm constantly watching Discord as we go through these calls because I know that that's where you're alerted that this call is happening. If you're watching this later, jump into the Discord channel. If you need access to it, newpragmatic.com. All right, folks, that's it for the feedback loop for Wednesday, September 25th. I hope that this has been helpful for you. And otherwise, I will chat with all of you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.